Welcome to Western Wisconsin Journal. As you know, I'm Bobby Pominville, and I'm your arts consultant or reporter. And I love all the feedback you give me, so keep doing that. Today, I have another one of my former students here. I just love to follow them. And today it's Jordan Erdman. I want to welcome him to the show. Welcome, Jordan.
Thank you for having me.
And he wears so many hats, I just don't know where to start, but here we go. He's a musician, a composer, a writer-producer. He owns Seventh Gate, recording studio, and plus he owns the J. Edison Group, and that's all about technology. So my goodness, since EP Rock School, you have come a long ways, Jordan.
I've been busy and continue to be busy.
You have.
Yeah.
And I've got to hear your story because recently I saw you were featured in the Star Observer.
Yes.
And I thought right then and there, I have got to reconnect with Jordan, and we have to tell, this on my show. So here we go. You're going to tell us, if you could, about your experiences that led you into this professional music career and a composer and all those other hats you wear. So tell us a little bit about how that went for you.
Well, I guess the beginning of my music career really started with this choir teacher I had back at EP Rock. Her name was
really?
Miss Pominville.
Oh, yes.
We went into some very intense lessons on the recorder.
Yes.
Or what I referred to it, or what we referred to it back then as the flutophone, which I guess we're not supposed to say.
No, we can say that because...
Does that date us? Or?
Well, I'm not going to tell my age. I don't know about you. But
so really, that was one of my first memories, strangely enough, at EP Rock. And and then when I got into junior high school, I was just walking down the hall one day and heard this person playing the drum set.
Yes.
In the break room or in the practice room, and it just really intrigued me, and it was just, I knew at that moment that that's what I wanted to do.
You were hooked.
Yeah.
And so many people love percussion.
Yes. Yeah.
But to actually get involved with it it's quite challenging. So tell us about that.
Well, I immediately started playing drums and picked it up basically on my own, and by the time I finished junior high school, I was playing in the junior high school jazz band and the high school jazz band simultaneously.
Oh my!
And so I really loved the drums a lot, and ended up getting an award from the National Association of Jazz Educators by the time I was in high school. And
my word, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I thought for sure I was going to be a rock and roll.
You were heading to a career.
Right, and
yes, you were, because you had the talent. You see, you had the aptitude.
Yes, yeah, I've been blessed.
So you stuck with it through high school.
Yes, yes, and strangely enough, I'm a hyper spiritual guy. I have a great belief in God, and he has saved me on more than one occasion. And it was funny that when I first looked at that drum set, I always believe that everybody's here and put on this earth for a reason, yes. and it's to do good. And I knew when I looked at that drum set that was my purpose. And I have a very strong belief in God, Jesus Christ, and I also understand that there's evil forces that exist as well. And his biggest defense against us is to convince us that he doesn't exist, and he does. And immediately when I began to play drums, I was introduced to drugs and alcohol. Yes. It had to be 2 weeks apart.
That's a scary world, but it does exist.
And I really believe that the evil forces that existed introduced me to them to stop me from what my purpose was in life. And so, I was addicted right away, and it's resulted in a lot of pain and hurt, and I'm lucky I'm still alive, though. Many of my friends are not as fortunate as I.
Yes.
But you know, being a drummer and going through high school was a great experience. But I knew I had to deal with the problem that I had, you know, the disease that I have,
Well,
and
that's
so I ended
true.
up going to my first rehabilitation center, and it was there that I really, for the first time, met God and had a spiritual awakening. And after that spiritual awakening, I could play the piano, and so. And these lyrics began to come,
Yes.
and just
Yes.
from nowhere. And the message in the lyrics was so spiritual in nature that it really, I just believe to this day that it's coming from, you know, somewhere else, and I really can't take credit for it. You know, it's a gift that I've been given.
That is a wonderful story.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
And I'm so impressed because, you know, there's note readers and there's people that just sit down and play. And you know what? I really admire you for doing that.
Yeah.
And I think it's a great gift.
Thank you.
And the way you see it as a gift from God, it
That's it.
really
It
has
is.
affected your life, you see.
Yes.
And that is just incredible. So you would sit down and play the piano and you were composing and you were thinking of lyrics and it was all kind of coming together, wasn't it?
Yes. Yes.
And then you went from there to, well, one of the things I want to talk about is this year has been quite a year for you because you were asked to compose a song, and I believe it was for the International Children's Services.
Yes, it was really for
Angie?
yeah, through Angie, a very good friend.
Angie Dove
of
Hatch,
ours.
who
Yes.
we both know. And at that point, you must have just, your creativity must have just gone wild.
Well, it was a great experience, and again, the music just came, the lyrics came, and I mean, it was just one miracle after another that brought that song together.
And it's so powerful because I know she works with adoption and she's very familiar with that. Her own children, I think several of them are adopted. And she has been very active in that area. But anyway, the song is called Love Will Change. Now, who came up with that name?
I did.
You must have.
Yes.
And then you wrote the lyrics, and then you went to the piano and started composing the melody and the accompaniment all at once, kind of?
Yes. I just I took a bunch of pictures from her organization of these kids.
Yes, I
And
saw
I'll tell
that
ya,
on YouTube.
It wasn't very often a dry eye for me because I'd put these, you know, I didn't need the music stand on the piano for music, so I put
No.
all of these pictures of these
And that's
kids
what
up
I
there.
have. That's what
Yeah.
was shown in the paper article, and
Yeah.
I was like, you know, children have always been my love,
Oh.
and music, and it's so powerful. And when you think about it, the lives that some of these children have is just so sad.
It really is, and it's up to each one of us to do something.
Yes.
You know, it's up to us to make these changes, and we can sit on the sidelines, you know, and hope that somebody else does it. But if each one of us really makes an effort to do what we can do, I mean, that's how we're going to change these children's lives and ultimately the world, to make a positive, you know, imprint on the world.
And you were honored recently as an ambassador.
Well, yes, I'm an ambassador now.
And I have to say I just
No.
think that is wonderful.
Well,
How could I compliment you any more than I am? But it's just such a wonderful, strong thing that you've done. And now the song we're talking about composing now. What else did you add to that? I mean, besides the piano, and you were thinking about a vocal. So what other kinds of instruments and things did you bring in?
well, it was fantastic the way it evolved. You know, I started out with the piano track, and
Right.
I could sing the vocal line, but
Oh, boy, that's
but
cool.
But I brought in a really accomplished vocalist and had her
boy,
start
did
by
you?
I had her start by laying down the vocal track. So we just had piano and vocals at that point.
Right.
And then I brought in a studio drummer and bass player to lay
Right.
down those basic tracks.
Yes.
And then we had a nice foundation. And then from there, I brought in the lead vocalist's friends
Yes.
to sing, to create a choir, and that was multi-track.
Oh my goodness,
Yeah,
it's just fantastic.
Yeah, oh, boy,
the
chil-
harmonies.
Oh, and we were bawling that day in the studio.
Oh, you
I'll
had
tell
to
you.
be
But,
because it's so touching.
well, it was just fantastic to be a part of it. And we multi-tracked those 6 singers a number of times, so it ended up sounding like, a huge choir, but it was really just 6 people. And then,
So this is all in your studio now.
yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you had some other help from more instrumentalists, like strings and that?
Yes, I sent those tracks out to L.A. and Derek Nakamoto arranged a string
Oh, wow.
section for it, and then recorded that string section at East West Studios in Hollywood,
Oh my.
and so we added that, and then I just heard this child's voice, this child's choir. Oh,
Yes.
I know it's hard for me to.
No, because that is
my
a
composure,
love
but-
of mine too, is a boy choir.
And so I just heard this choir in the song as, I already had the gospel choir really, but there was just a part that I really wanted a child's voice in.
Yes.
And so we packed up, we've got a mobile studio too where we can go out and record on site. So we packed it up and went to Elk River, Minnesota and recorded the Land O'Lakes Boys Choir.
Oh, and I've known of them.
Did
for
you see them in the
years.
video?
I've heard about them.
You'll
Yes,
see them
I
in the
saw
video.
it. Oh, those
And
faces.
that was quite the day because they couldn't hear the music. We just had to give them the tempo and make sure they were singing in tune.
Oh my! So then you added that later.
Yeah, so that was added in later, and
I don't know how you managed all that,
oh,
but
We got
what a
great
fun
people.
thing, and
Yeah.
what a beautiful thing you did. Because the more people that would hear that song would be so moved, and so moved to help those children.
yes.
And that's really what it's all about.
Boy, the more I learn about kids, I mean, we're in our own little world here, and sometimes I find myself complaining about the dumbest things, and you put things in perspective sometimes, and the more I learn about these kids and these adoption agencies and what some of these children go through, it's really it's really heartbreaking, and
It's
people like
difficult
Angie
for
and
me
these people,
sometimes
yeah,
even. I'm trying to hold it together here.
yeah, act
But
natural.
the things I watch on TV and what I read about those things, and of course there's been articles on Angie too in the paper, and I think that's a very high goal, and I think you met it.
Yeah, well, thank
So
you.
good
Thank
for you. This has been quite a year for you. Now, how could we? I know we're going to play the songs on our show today. And how can we actually find it? I mean, can we go to YouTube and you'll send us a link? But I mean, how can the average person watching the show find out about the song?
Well,
there a way?
there's a couple of ways. You could go on to our website, which is sevens-gate.com,
Oh, yeah.
and you could get to the video and song from there.
Right.
It's also on iTunes,
Mm-hmm.
and if you'd like, you just give us a call. We'll send you a copy.
All right. So we're going to give out some information for contact in a bit too, because I think other people will be interested in some of your other groups here and some of your other things we're going to talk about. But I just have to encourage the audience, people, to go and find that song because it will definitely speak to you. So please do that.
Thank you.
Now I want to go to a different subject before I lose it here. You own a state-of-the-art recording studio.
Yes.
I'm so impressed with that.
Well, thank
Now
you.
tell me, how did that evolve?
Well, I told you about when I got involved with drugs and alcohol,
Yes.
and you know,
Yes.
I talked about the good and the evil and how this has played a role in my life. And you know, one of the things that, you know, Evil always told me was that I want to be a rock star, and I want to be rich, and I want to be famous, and I want recognition. And I idolized, you know, these people on TV that had all of these things that I thought were somehow going to fill my emptiness. And it was all just a big facade. And you know, I guess time teaches you, or hopefully all of us, that. And I've been writing music, you know, for many, many years, but I've also struggled with drugs and alcohol simultaneously, and it's been an ongoing battle for me, really. And so, after writing over 200 songs, you know, I finally entered another rehabilitation center. Shocking, but it was probably my fifth time over the period of my life.
I don't think that's shocking because I know people
Yeah.
who've been through it. It
was
doesn't
terrible.
always stick the first, second, third time.
No, and so I found myself down in Florida, and the rehabilitation did not work, and I'm basically on my deathbed, and I was in a facility, in a psych ward, as a matter of fact, and not a place I'd recommend.
No,
You know,
I'm sure.
I mean,
But you have to hit bottom.
yeah. So, and that was pretty much, well, I've hit bottom I keep bouncing. I don't know what the heck was going on there, but I'm bouncing.
Yeah,
So anyway,
yeah.
all of a sudden this guy comes up and says, there's somebody here to see you at the door. And so I'm in Florida. And so I went to the door. They opened up this big steel door, and the sunlight comes in, and I couldn't see because there's no windows in there. It's the first time I've seen sunlight for days. And here was my girlfriend that had broken up with me. She had been with me for years and years and put up with me for years and years, and finally just said, I've had enough. And there she was, standing there. And I looked down, and here's a little bassinet with a little baby girl in it.
Oh my.
And it changed my life. You know, that was 7 years ago. She's going to be 7, December 19th. And this will also be my 7 years of sobriety coming up here too. So
That's a real blessing.
it's a miracle. It saved my life.
It is.
You know,
And it changed you because there's another being.
Yeah. And so to get back to to answer your question, you know, I moved back to Hudson and back into my house, and I had the studio that I was recording in for many, many years, but I really had a tough time going into that room because I associated that room and recording and creativity so much with drugs and alcohol that it was a real fear for me. And I still knew what God's plan was for me, though. And so I, again, was battling this good and evil. And, you know, I began to go to church a lot and studied under Greg Boyd, and still to this day am at Greg Boyd's church in Woodland Hills. And I began to build the studio out and save money and do this part and save some more and do that part. Knowing all along that the real goal for this studio and these rooms are not for the fame and the fortune and the recognition. It's to help change people's lives through the power of music.
Oh, definitely a powerful thing.
and,
Music is.
And so that's what those rooms are dedicated for, is positive music with positive messages to hopefully somehow change people's lives, you know, any way we can, you know, to do anything we can to help. And
That's very powerful.
and so that's how the studio came about, and it turned out better than I ever had hoped. And the sound quality is very good. If you listen to the song, you know, you can tell it sounds pretty good.
And I listen to a lot of music.
Yeah.
And I'm into a lot of different styles of music from my training in that. And it was excellent.
Thank you.
Excellent. Now, do you actually rent out the studio?
Well, we do.
How does that work?
We
Can
do,
you-
but there is a criteria. We
sure.
we want to see the lyrics first if somebody's interested in recording, and
Oh, I see.
and sometimes we will, if people want to partner with us, we have discounted rates. Because a lot of these musicians that have good messages
Yeah.
really don't have the funds to afford professional
Well, true.
recording
It's
studio,
expensive.
so-
I know that.
Yeah, that song, the song that you've heard, I mean, that was an expensive
Well,
endeavor.
yes, especially with all the different instrumentals, vocals, all of that. That adds up.
It adds up. It adds up. So, but
And wow, that's interesting. Well, I was curious about that because I've been to a couple recording studios.
yeah, I bet you have.
And usually I'm playing,
Are ya?
accompanying
Oh,
groups.
well, we'd love to have you over.
Well,
you know?
thank you.
never
I'd
call,
love to see it.
You never write.
I would love to see it.
After all
George.
we've been through.
We're going to do it.
Okay. good.
Okay. Then we wondered how, just let's touch on a little bit your other endeavor, the J. Edison Group.
Yes.
What exactly is that all about, and what do you do with that particular group?
Well, we're fortunate enough to have just a fantastic team of technicians and computer people, and our main goal there is to also embellish people's lives. And the way we do that is to go into their homes and design electronic systems.
Oh, wow.
And we make it very, very easy for people to use.
Nice.
A lot of these systems now have all these components and cables associated with it, and we've got very unique ways of hiding components and cables and
Oh, wow.
and providing people with just a simple remote that you hit the button and it works
Oh.
every time. So,
That would be for me. Let
Yeah.
me tell you.
well, I'll get you.
Usually I've got the wrong remote and I'm trying to control something.
Yeah, one remote is the key.
It's nasty.
A lot of people claim that it's that it's simple to operate
Oh, yeah.
a system, but to really understand the aesthetics of a home and to make it look good and to make it operate very easily is a discipline that we pride ourselves on. And
That's something that's way out of my realm, but I think technology has gone so far now.
yeah, it's great.
And you must be able to set up every component and then the speakers, and I can about imagine it's quite massive.
Yeah, we really enjoy doing it, because there's many ways of hiding speakers and disguising speakers so that you don't have, so it doesn't look like like my apartment used to look like, with the big I mean that all has gone away with our systems, and so you have the fantastic sound quality, without
That's
without
so
all of
important to me.
Yeah, without the look of all the components and everything's hidden. So
I think that is something that's very needed, very necessary in this
Yeah.
day and age. And I
Yeah.
can see where people would really want to go there if they want the quality. And that's what I see you doing, is just a wonderful job on that quality. So many things here now. It's like Seventh Gate Recording Studio and the J. Edison Group, and you must be a pretty busy person.
I am, but I love it.
And then somebody could come to you and actually say, like Angie, oh, I need a song for something. I'm really needing someone to compose. And then your creativity would take over and you would just sit at the piano and figure that out.
Absolutely.
So that is
God
just,
willing,
that is a God's gift.
It is.
It really is.
It is.
I just am so impressed with that.
After your class with the flutophone,
Oh, yeah.
I didn't do well in school, so a lot of the stuff I do is a gift.
Well, do you know what? When you were doing that, you were starting the very basics of music.
Right.
And when you went on to the trap set and the band and the jazz band, you added a lot of things there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of information and a whole different style of music.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, and then recordings and all that add to it. But I think you're sitting down at the piano and being able to improvise is something that I really admire. It's such a gift.
Well, I'll have to get some of my improvisational piano up on our website so you can hear
yes.
it.
Oh, would
because
you?
it's just,
Great.
what I do many times is I will just sit down with no preconceived notion and just play, and we record it. And so I've got a lot of that,
Yeah.
a lot of that too.
Oh,
so.
that would be wonderful to visit that. And then I think what we're going to do is after the interview, we'll show some of the websites and that,
Okay,
so people can connect to you
great.
and look up what they want to do. And I have enjoyed this so much, Jordan. It's such a high for me to have a former student like you that's made it.
Well,
That you're just at such a high level right now.
yeah, well, I made it, when my daughter was born.
That was
and
wonderful.
When you say making it, I mean, it really, I have a whole different perspective of what that means now. And that really means, to me anyway, is, I had gone through life just searching for something to fill the emptiness in me. And now I know what that is, and it's really love. And it's the love I have for my daughter and my wife, and the love I have for people, and the desire to reach out and to help others. And I just hopefully want to spread that message however and wherever I can, because, if there's some kids out there that can learn what I know now, at an early age, so they don't have to go through the pain and the agony that I had to go through, and that hopefully maybe we could even save some lives.
True.
I mean, that's making it for me.
Well, I've never quite heard it from your perspective before, so this is very powerful. And I just wish that we could, reach people even in the high school and let them learn some of this, because you have come such a long ways, and I'm just so delighted that you came on my show to share all this.
It's a pleasure. I was very excited to hear from you.
How wonderful. So I thank you for coming out today. We're going to reconnect. I want to see that studio.
Okay, you got to come see the studio, and we're working on a theatrical performance now with that will be put to music.
Really?
We're also contacting the high school. We were just talking about it this morning to hopefully get some of the choirs involved, to bring them out to the studio and show them what's involved in making music, and hopefully to get that point across that music is such an influential force, and it's important that if they are writing music to write music that that can reach out and touch people's souls and help them.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
That is just wonderful. I'm so glad to hear you're doing that. Well, thank you again.
Oh, my pleasure.
I do want to thank the audience for listening, and I'd love to hear some feedback, but I hope you've enjoyed the show today, and I hope that you will take some interest in going to YouTube or wherever, and we'll put that song on so you can hear it. Thanks again for listening today.